Hello, this is Joan Friedman, your host on Allways, ALLWAYS. ALL for the Academy of Lifelong Learning, associated with Cape Cod Community College on beautiful Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The purpose of our broadcast is to introduce the Academy to a broad audience. We plan to introduce you to our wonderful coordinators, to talk to you about our curriculum, our events, our catalogs, and many publications. In this episode of Always, we are talking with one of our new instructors, Lois Karfunkel. Lois is teaching the herstory of art, which when I saw it, I was very, very interested. I thought that was a very interesting spin that they had on art, and I hadn't ever heard of that course before. So Lois is going to talk to us tonight about her background, about the course that she's teaching, and her inspiration for teaching this course.
One of the women we discussed is someone called Artemisia Gentileschi. She is considered to be a great artist at the moment. When she was 17, we learned she was in fact raped by a fellow painter, and she brought the scoundrel to court. A very courageous thing at the time. And in the process, in order to testify during the trial, she underwent torture to make sure she was telling the truth. And in fact, at the end of the multiple-day trial, the rapist was found guilty, but nothing ever happened to him. However, Artemisia had her revenge, we learned. She painted a very famous large historical painting of Judith slaying Holofernes, which is based on a Roman legend. And in her work, Judith is shown standing tall and powerful while in the act of decapitating the Assyrian general. And we can see the blood flowing all from the general's neck and down onto the floor. And people have noticed a likeness of the face of this general with that of Artemisia's rapist. So she had a little bit of her revenge. We also compared her work with that of Michelangelo's version, which is in the Sistine Chapel. And in his version, the general's head has already been cut off and rests bloodless in the background in a basket about to be covered. There's no blood, no action, and no powerful image there. So in many ways, Artemisia's we found to be favorable. Another amazing story we learned from the Renaissance times was about a nun who lived in a convent in Italy. And during the same period, the Renaissance period, she painted a huge version of the Last Supper, despite the fact that she'd never been able to study art or anatomy and had lived in a convent isolated from the world, yet somehow she found the money and fortitude and courage to build a large scaffolding to allow her to paint this major work with her assistants from the convent who had all not studied art, and to help her complete the work. And her Last Supper, unfortunately, which was I think 20 feet wide and 6 feet high, the only one ever painted by a woman, was put into a closet where it remained for some 450 years in disrepair. Finally, it was discovered, and after 4 years, was recently restored, and it now hangs in a museum in Florence. And when you compare her work with Da Vinci's, the Last Supper you would probably go to would be that of the nun, Plautilla Nelli. Because definitely her meal looked much more appealing. And that's just part of the fun that we've been doing. We'll move on in the next classes into the 1970s, when thanks in part to a group of women artists who dressed in gorilla suits, and along with feminist artists, they all joined forces to tell the truth to power about the inequality of how women were treated in the art world. And we'll talk about Judy Chicago and a community of hundreds who helped her put together the dinner party, where women artists could be represented on a huge dinner table. These efforts started to bring about equality in the art world, which hopefully is still ongoing. As you can see, our class is having a fun time learning not only about how amazing women achieve success despite all the obstacles, but also in the process, we're becoming more aware of how art and the female gaze impacts on our daily lives. And all of this thanks to the ALL programs that enable us to get together to do these classes. So we've been thrilled. I've been thrilled teaching. It's been a lot of work. We're all working hard and enjoying the process.
Is your class, is this an in-person class, Lois, or is this a
Yes,
Zoom class?
yes, it's in person. I didn't want to do Zoom. I thought we should all be there so that we can talk about our reactions. We have something like 85 slides that we're going through and videos, so that we can, get more detailed biography information about the artists we're discussing, and also we're sharing our experiences today with what's happening in the art world, so that what we're discovering is that many of these women artists who have been lost for generations are being rediscovered thanks to the fact that many more women are going into art history and exploring the record and making sure that the record gives a fairer representation of women's role in art. And so a lot of the local smaller museums in our area, the one in Hartford, the one in Worcester, the one in Salem, have all had recently exhibits of some of these long-lost artists whose works are just amazing and certainly comparable to other artists, the male artists of their time. So we're doing it all together.
Yeah, and certainly about time. About time, for women to start getting the credit that they should have had, or the credit that that other men took, of their work. We look at the future of art, but also it's a very exciting time to be looking at at the history of herstory. I'm sorry, the herstory,
Right,
the
right, the
herstory of
herstory,
art,
right.
the herstory of art.
You got it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, women's art is now starting to be more on a level competitive with men in terms of auction values. So you never know. And we recently showed a video of two young women who bought a painting that they had read about in the newspaper and paid $500 for it. A lovely, charming painting of a young girl, and they held on to it. And then at an antique roadshow event that went to their home, the woman said that in fact they bought a painting that was of a very famous painter, Lily Cabot Perry, who was an American painter, and that the painting that had cost them $500 was probably worth $60,000 or more today. As again, there's been a greater awareness of the role of women in art, and the value of women's art has gone up.
And
so all good.
Exactly. Good, and good. Is there anything else that you'd like our audience to know about ALL? I think that you gave a brilliant overview of it when you started. Just that it's a great place to take a course or even teach a course that wouldn't ordinarily be in your wheelhouse.
But what's funny is the first time I went to an AAA meeting to learn about the program years ago, I was sitting at a table and we were all started to talk and enjoy interacting with each other. And it turned out that the woman who was sitting directly across from me lived in the same community I did. And we started a friendship, and we went back and forth commuting together. And she's one of my good friends now, and in fact is in my art class. So, it's wonderful in that way. You get to meet people that are interesting and often share your interests. And it's fun learning. It's not like when we went to school and you had grades. As I told my students, they can take notes if they want. If they want to just sit back and look at the videos and enjoy, that's great too. I sent out a bunch of homework videos that, if they want to watch them, if they find something interesting and exciting that, gets their juices flowing, then by all means they have the opportunity to do it. But there's no pressure to do that. And that's the beauty of learning at our age and
Exactly.
making sure we're using our brains.
Right. That's what our students say. They like that there's no homework, no pressure. no pressure.
Right. Right.
So yes, so many good things about it. Not the least of which is the friendships, which which you just talked about.
Right. Right.
And we're all glad to be back in person. Although Zoom certainly has its place. I'm a Zoomie. I like my Zoom classes. We're going to be having the technology very soon. Actually, we've purchased it already, so that instructors could be doing a Zoom and in person at the same time.
Right. I'm all excited about that because that's the way to go. These
Right.
hybrid meetings.
The hybrid
Because
classes,
you know
right?
you can even be there. Unfortunately, COVID is reappearing at least where I live, and so even if you don't have it, you want to isolate it if you've been exposed to someone, and you don't want to expose other people as well. But a hybrid class enables you to participate for those classes that you might have missed, and I'm so glad that that's going to be coming. I think maybe
Yes, certainly.
in the spring.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Certainly that that we at ALL are aware that that is the way to go. That's the way to
But I mean,
to
the thing
teach
is,
in the
in person,
future.
you get you have the ability of people have talked about they were at a certain museum and they saw one of the pictures we looked at, so you get that personal uh, sharing of experience, and that really makes it a wonderful opportunity to get different viewpoints and know if I want to go look at a museum, that maybe this museum, I might want to look for this, this picture or that picture. Recently we talked about a letter that was sent to the Isabella Stewart Gardner, who had bought some paintings of this woman in Concord, Massachusetts, and the letter just thanked her for being so wonderful to buy her paintings, and she, the artist hoped that she enjoyed them and whatever. And Isabella got so thrilled to receive this unusual note that if you go to the Isabella Gardner Museum and you look in some of the areas where they have letters and other documents, you'll see this letter from this woman. So, and that's something that we can share in person and talk about our experiences there. And so, I'm finding it wonderful to take classes, and I'm enjoying the teaching part, although it's a little bit more work than I anticipated. So, sometimes, but I'm loving the adventure, and that's great.
Okay, and Lois, it's been so wonderful speaking with you this evening, and learning about art history. I was very interested in the class when I heard about it, and I'm more interested, and I hope that our audience is as well. And speaking with Lois and her background, that we're trying to shine a light on our instructors, and the depth and the talent of the instructors that we have at the Academy for Lifelong Learning, such as Lois. So we hope that you've enjoyed our broadcast and that you'll turn in again and to hear more about ALL. And we'd love to have you contact us at capecodall.org to get on our mailing list. And once you're on our list, you'll receive our catalog of our courses and information about our events, our speakers, that we have podcasts and video casts now. We certainly would love to have you sign up for our classes, but we need instructors as well, as Lois was brave enough to step in, and sounds like she's having fun with her class. We have many opportunities for volunteering on many of our boards, and actually even helping out here at the studio, with broadcasting all-ways. There's plenty of work for people to do with what I call a college within a college. We are a mini college that's run entirely by volunteers. So we need you. So Lois and I would like to thank you for listening to this podcast. And remember to contact us at capecodall.org.